Hello and welcome to the February report for 2017. I'm sitting on the floor because there's a good chance that the dog's going to come and join me, which would be appropriate for this one. So I originally recorded a big rant about Brexit and Trump and all that jazz, but in the big scheme of things there are a lot of videos out there about this situation, and I don't think it's in any way helpful to add to that. So I'll just say now that I was for Remain and I'm against Trump, and that's all I'm going to say. So instead I'm going to go on something that's a bit more Valentine's-ish themed. So this report is subtitled How to Guarantee Unrequited Love, and the only real way to do that is to get yourself a dog. And he's not been particularly helpful at present. I've got a couple of treats that you might want to get interested in. So I've grown up with dogs. I've had a dog for all of my life pretty much. Our first dog was a little white Westie, which the parents chose when I was about 3, so that's the first experience with a dog. Second dog was a, where's the picture? Don't know how well that's going to come up, I'll put it on the screen. Past and previous doggies. There's a German Shepherd Cross Collie called Sandy, who's a rescue dog. And then dog number 3, present dog, is Jake here, who is a Black Lab Cross, who's also somewhat of a rescue. You're actually going to come out of your bed. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. That's what you get. Cool, thank you. Who was a rescue from a friend who had a house full of kids and a Rottweiler. So someone had to go, and it had to be Jake. Jake. Is that Paul? Good boys. So, thank you. So first things first, if you're getting a dog, do your research. So if you have a particular breed in mind, you've seen something that looks interesting, then do your research first. That Paul? Okay. This Paul? Good boys. Do your research, because certain breeds have certain tendencies and requirements. Things like greyhounds, you might think need a lot of exercise. They don't, they're quite lazy dogs, as opposed to something like a collie, which is a working dog, which needs a lot of attention. Thank you. So things like that you need to look up, and in particular for certain breeds have particular health issues they're more likely to have. Okay, sit, 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 or slide, either or. Yeah, it's difficult, you've got wooden floor, you can't whip for a long wooden floor. Right, so yeah, particular dogs have particular genetic weaknesses. So things like a Pekingese or a pug that's got a small squished face is going to have issues with having a small squished face. So it's going to be eyes and breathing and whatever. Jake, down, down, down. Good boys. So things like that you need to be aware of. You don't have as much issue when you're getting like a mongrel or a mixed dog, because the genes kind of work together to make things better, as it were, kind of to match up and to heal the damage of the genetic structure that's been inbred in the process of making the pedigree. So you also need to do your research about where you're going to get your dog from. If you go to a rescue centre, all good. There are no bad rescue centres. But if you're going to go to a breeder, you really do need to look up online, research their name and their address, because they could be trading under different names, and they could be hiding puppy farms and that kind of thing. Good boy. So best to do your research first, and when you go and pick up your dog, you need to check that it's healthy. If puppies in particular are bouncy things, and if it's not bouncing around and being a puppy, there's something wrong there. It needs to have that kind of puppy energy. Right, and also in terms of what kind of a dog you're going for, what breed, how much training it needs. Because if you're going to buy yourself a Malamute or a Husky, then you've got to get some walking boots, really. And think about how much you work. If your dog's going to be locked in for 8 hours a day, is it fair to actually get a dog? Essentially. Or would you prefer a fish? Really? Because it's just not fair to have them locked away for long periods of time. Here's a good boy. So, rule number 2 is don't have 2 students at once. ideally, if you've never had a dog in your life, you can do all the research you like, but if you get a puppy, you're more likely to train that puppy the wrong way. You'll miss something, or you'll give it some bad habits. So I would always suggest getting an older dog, one that's past 2.5, 3 years old, that they're past the kind of hormonal teenage stage, right there, Jake? And they're more sensible and kind of grown up, less likely to be bouncy, and they're also potty trained by that point, and they know what it is to be a dog. So if you get a dog that's pretty much there, there's less training required, and there's less risk of you teaching it bad habits, essentially. So try and go for an older dog if at all possible, and try to avoid having very young children and a very young dog. So if you've got a puppy and a baby, neither of them's going to get the right amount of attention. So one or the other, and whatever you do, don't buy your children a puppy. You know, it's the thing they want a puppy, but after the first kind of blush of, oh look, I've got a puppy, when they become a teenage dog, they are very jumpy, they like to chew, they're quite boisterous. So, and that's why puppies end up in rescue centres, because it was all right when it was a little fluffy thing, but then when it grew up a bit, it wasn't so much of a fluffy thing anymore. So do your research, don't have 2 students at once. So if it's your first dog, I suggest going for a rescue, because generally that kind of balances karma a bit. Because if you would have got a puppy, in all likelihood you would have had to give that dog away within the first 2 years. That's not me being anti, that's pretty much 75% of all dogs that are given up within the first 2 years, because their owner can't manage them being a puppy. If they could have held on a bit longer, they would have got over the puppy stage and would have been fine. But for whatever reason they didn't. So don't go for a puppy unless you are prepared to put in the time. And you need as much time with a puppy as you will with a baby. So do it that way. And if you're thinking about getting a young dog when your children are a bit older, children need to be fairly sensible for a puppy or for a dog in general. So the youngest your child should be is about 4 or 5. Again, depending on how sensible your child is, so they can understand the signals that the dog gives off. Right. And with children in particular, you need to teach them what a happy dog looks like. So this is Jake being happy. He's inquisitive, he's looking for treats, which is kind of pretty much unique to most dogs. Look for treats at any opportunity. His tail is not tucked under, it's just kind of laying there. He's not wagging because he's not demonstrating anything, he's just comfortable. If he becomes uncomfortable, the ears go back, tail gets tucked under, and he doesn't look happy. If your dog smiles at you, that he's showing teeth, that's not a happy dog. That needs to be taught to children at a very early age, because a lot of occasions when children have been attacked by dogs is because they don't recognise the signals. A dog will give a clear, I'm not happy signal. Quite a few clear, I'm not happy signals before they bite. And you need to make clear to your children, or to any children that are around the dog, that their bed is their place. If they go from a crowd into their bed, it's because they want to be alone, they want to have some time to decompress and just calm down. So don't bother the dog in their bed. Like that. So that is their personal space. If you've got a bed, if you've got like a little fluffy thing, a cushion, if you've got a cage, once the dog's on there, do not bother it. Unless you want to throw a treat at him, if you have to help you on camera. So, in terms of generally being around in the world, you're more likely to come across people walking dogs. If you're lucky, if the dog owner's taken up with it, they'll have a colour-coded harness. So red means don't come near, amber is normally no dogs, and green is good for everyone. But even if they're wearing a green harness, it doesn't mean you can dive straight in, because no dog's going to like that, some stranger coming up like that. So what you should ideally do is offer your hand to the dog, or no, what you do is you first ask the owner, is it okay? Because they might say, yeah, it's fine, whatever. But then you need to ask your dog, or ask the dog if it's okay. So you put your hand up to the dog. Jake's not going to do it, but he'll sniff your hand, he'll get your scent. And if his ears prick forward, that's normally a good sign to gentle stroke on the head, and then the head comes up, and they might lick you or whatever, and that's indication that you can go a little bit further. But dogs are quite clear about their signals. If a dog is carrying away, don't even think about it, because if a dog is scared, if it's on the lead in particular, it can't run, so it's more likely to snap. And Jake, being a nervous dog anyway, because he came out of the house with 2 young children and a Rottweiler, so he was kind of middle dog. He's liable to growl at a dog, not necessarily bark, just kind of growl, and that can be a little alarming. But he's got there's no trousers to it really, you know, all mouth, no trousers. But he's a friendly dog, and he was very well trained before we got him, so that's pretty much it. And kind of rule number 4 is enjoy your dog. It's not just a fashion item. Even, you know, you might have a little kind of rat on a string kind of chihuahua type dog, but enjoy the time you have with your dog. Stroke him, brush him. If you're feeling particularly nice, you can wash him. If not, then send him up to the local salon and they'll do it. But particularly with Jake, because he's so nervous, a lot of this contact is kind of reassuring to him. So he feels more comfortable with people if there's gentle contact. And never shout at a dog. If they're doing something wrong, you ignore them as much as possible. Take away the thing they're doing wrong, if at all possible, and ignore it, because dogs learn by that kind of association. If they're doing something dangerous, never yell at a dog, because you yell, you raise the pitch of your voice, and that's a yap, and only puppies yap, and yapping is not important to a dog. So if you're going to tell the dog off, you bring your voice down to a low register, Jake, something like that, and that you do that with a lot of body behind it, and they go, oh no, that's the growl, what have I done wrong? So that kind of thing. So you don't yell, don't yap at a dog, you growl at a dog. I know it seems ridiculous, but that is the better way to get their attention if they're doing something wrong and immediate. If you're walking them, I really hate the extendable dog leads. They're just pointless, because you can't see where he is and what he's doing, because he's at the end of the cord. And most of them will run until they hit the end and then jerk back, which is no good for anybody. So ideally, you want a short, regular lead, and have him walking with you at heel if you can, if you get him trained to heel. If not, then within a couple of paces. So that if, like there have been over here, there have been occasions where people have left poison out and things for other animals, and dogs have got into it. So if they're close enough for you to lunge forward and stop them, then that's safer for everyone all around. So in terms of a dog, you've got around about 12 years with them. Well, Jake is now 14, so for a larger dog it's 13, 14. For a smaller dog it's closer to 16. Things like Rotties and huge kind of Great Danes and Newfies, it's closer to 10 years, because the bigger the dog, the sooner issues get worse, if you understand me. Things like Great Danes are more liable to have a spinal issue when they're 9 or 10, and that's either expensive surgery or, unfortunately, they have to be euthanised. So it's things like that you need to take into account when you're researching your dogs. So that's kind of my 4 tips for dogs. So in my opinion of being a dog owner, I always prefer a rescue. If it has to be a rescue from a friend because they can no longer look after it, then that kind of saves them going to Battersea and coming out again, because Battersea isn't a great place. It's a holding centre really, it's not a home. So if you can get a dog out of Battersea as soon as possible, then that kind of reduces the kind of trauma on them. If not, then Battersea or Rescue Centre is a fine place to put a dog, so you can pretty much guarantee it's going to get a decent home. And when you're getting a rescue dog, they will be health checked and they will have their character screened, so that you can at least have an idea whether or not they're going to be okay with cats and children, noise, that kind of thing. And all the rescue centres are connected to a vet, so if there's any issues there, they will be aware of them. They should have checked them out anyway. Most places, if they're not already done, they will offer a voucher for a neutering or castration, or whichever you're going to go for. Yeah, and at kind of a rescue centre, you're more likely to get a dog that's not fully one pedigree. You see, you are more likely to get a mixed breed, which is better in the long run because a mixture of genes creates a healthier dog. Because the genes from one breed will counteract the bad genes from another, at least in my experience. So, yeah, that is how to guarantee unrequited love, because a dog will love you whatever you do. That is one of the great things about having a dog. They don't judge, as long as you feed them and walk them and that kind of thing, they don't judge you or whatever, and they're someone to come home to. If you're living alone, then having a little friend to come home to is better than being alone, because loneliness kills. Right, so moving on to this month's videos. I've already put up the last piece of, or last section of the chest set box thing. It's not complete because frankly the weather is not conducive to doing any more kind of resin finishing. So that's going to hang on. I've got some sanding on that to do, and then the final finish and the lightening of it. So that's going to wait until better weather, because even now it's pretty evil out there. So I'll actually insert at the end of this a quick look at how the shed looks at the minute. It's an absolute tip down there. And it's running at 2 or 3 degrees below ambient temperature inside the shed because of the concrete walls. That's a great thing in the summer, not so much now. Okay, so it's currently reading about 8 degrees in there. Hello, Jake. And down in the shed, which is an absolute tip, it is reading 4 degrees. So I shall not be spending much time down here. At some point I have to come in and sort out the bomb site. It's been kind of a dumping ground the last month or so, so yeah, that is a project for some nicer weather, really. Now, where is he? Where's Jake? There he is. Jake doesn't want to stay outside any longer than he has to. Right, so I'll just... So next week, I was going to do some kind of Valentine's chocolates, for obvious reasons, but at the end of the month I'm presenting a chocolate demo at the Ilford Sugarcraft Guild. So that's not going to be in time for the last video of the month, so I'm going to put that into March. So instead I'm switching it around. I'm going to show you some nice Thai salmon fish cakes next week. And I haven't yet decided again on my 3-minute skill for this month. I'm still tempted to write an essay, but again I'm back in the essay world with my course at the minute, so I don't think I want to rehash that. So I'm probably going to do some more bead weaving. I've got a bead belt project request, so I'm probably going to do that as my 3-minute skill, I think. And the project for the month is a secret locking book with kind of hopefully, if it works, a kind of Chinese puzzle box kind of sliding mechanism. So I'm working on that at the minute. That's been interesting. So we'll see how that comes out. So that's the plan for the rest of the month. Thank you. That's the plan for the rest of the month, and I will see you at the beginning of March. Bye bye.